Oh, it's terrible, suffering from insomnia. It's 3 a.m. here in the Philippines, and both Dan and Minnie and I were having problems sleeping this morning. We keep getting up, rummaging around, getting a drink of water, going to the restroom, getting snacks from the kitchen, and then finally it's 3 a.m. and we just simply decided enough is enough. Let's just get up. James is here. James, what are you up to? Are you on your way to work? How's it going, James? Thanks for showing up. Thanks for the thumbs up. Anyway, so this is what it looks like at 3 a.m. in the morning Philippine time. 3 a.m. and I think today is Wednesday. It's hump day. So that's where we're at time-wise. Yeah, we got the vehicle fixed. It's running just fine. We took it on a road trip down to Leyte, and we posted a video of that. We went and visited the wild monkeys of Hindang, and that was very interesting. I had no idea. I had no idea they had caves there and wild monkeys. Very interesting. Oh, man, Minnie is inside. She's watching TV. I think she's watching that video that we did about our trip. So yeah, the car's running great. We have all the problems that are fixed, and hopefully it'll go for another year. I mean, it works hard. I mean, you know, this is only a small 3-banger engine, so it works hard. You know, it runs hot. It has high RPM motor. I mean, it came from Japan. It's a city delivery van, you know, sort of thing. And in Japan, they make them, they make the owners get rid of them at certain mileage, so that because of their smog requirements. So they're used to it in Japan. You know, this is a cheap vehicle there. I think a brand new one here in the Philippines probably would run 17 or 18K, something like that. So, sorry you're suffering from a bad cold. Yeah. Yeah, you know, neither did I. So, thank you, James. We learned something new, right? I didn't know about it either. I didn't know there were wild monkeys hanging around the Philippines. There's a couple of tribes of monkeys that are up there in the hills not too far from here. So we had to go see what they were all about. And it was very interesting. The behavior is something I'm not used to. You know, primates. Can't look them in the eye, or else what'll happen is they'll jump on you and tear your face off. It took a while for me to remember that no, you can't give them eye-to-eye contact. I wonder if it'd be a good idea if you go up there to wear sunglasses so they can't see your eyes. Or if you stared at them with sunglasses, would it have the same effect? You know, would they stare back and then want to attack you? They actually get very, very angry, and they want to attack. You know, they're monkeys. You know, and I'd forgotten that behavior. And then the tour guide or the docent reminded me, hey, don't stare at them. Don't stare at any monkey family like that. And definitely don't pay too much attention to the little ones. Monkeys apparently are very sensitive when you're paying attention to their offspring. So anyway, that's Joe's motor over there. That's the big one, the big scooter. He just came in a little while ago. I didn't get a chance to ask him, hey, where were you? What were you doing? I'm like a mother hen, you know. Japanese vehicle looks like it's good quality. I've been seeing videos of people purchasing electronic vehicles from Temu. Yeah, I get a kick out of those videos. I watch them too. You know, they come boxed up and you unwrap it and put a few things together, put the side mirrors on it, and down the road you're going. Little electric car. I don't know if they work too well on the hills of San Francisco though, James. I'm not sure. I think public transportation is the way to go in Frisco, right? Or call yourself a grab cab. Call yourself an Uber, you know. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I can't sleep, so I don't know what to do. You know, I guess you just sit here and do a live stream and talk to James. I think that's the best thing to do. Yeah. Who is this? I want to say it's Russian. Yeah, Russia's a nice place. I've been there a couple of times. Yeah. Dan, do you and Ma'am Minnie, do we eat crocodile lechon? I'm going to tell you the truth. I think I've only seen it once in my entire existence. And so I wouldn't mind trying it. They say it tastes like chicken. It tastes a little like chicken. Yummy, yummy. You know, someone that has a friend of mine who's eaten it says you can't tell the difference. It has a little bit of different texture, but the flavor's the same. You know? Oh, well. Anyway. Yeah, welcome. Welcome if you're from Europe, Eastern Europe. I guess, do they still call it Eastern Europe, I suppose? Russia, perhaps? I've been there a few times. Like I said, I love Moscow. It's one of my favorite cities in the whole world. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful city, a beautiful country. Yeah, I did a little bit of, what do they call that? The Golden Circle? I can't remember. The ancient cities. We traveled around the ancient cities. I'll never forget, it was such a beautiful, beautiful tour. We visited the city of Sudzal. I can't say it right. People say I sound funny when I say it. Sudzal. You know, the ancient cities. But it was a very, very exciting tour. And we went to that famous restaurant where the monks prepare meals, and that's how they earn their living. That's how they earn their keep. But I don't think it's there anymore. Someone told me that restaurant is no longer there. The monastery in Sudzal, they said, is no longer there. But that would be a shame. That's one of the best experiences that I ever had in my entire life. James, that's the original Farm to Fork restaurant. You know, where the monks would go out there and grow and harvest their own food, and then they would serve it to the tourists and the locals that would come in to help support the monastery. What's amazing to me is every Kremlin of those towns has a golden dome. And some of it is gold leaf paint, and others of it where they can't afford is just regular paint. But I found that to be fascinating. It adds to the beauty of the country. They're very loving and caring people there, James. Anyway, where am I? Oh, James, I'm going to be doing a video very, very soon about, I guess it'll be titled American Products, or I guess they're American products that are well known. Products that are well known to Americans. They're not necessarily American exclusive products, but they're starting to show up here in the Philippines. And I thought that it would make a very, very interesting video. But maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, you know, I mean, who would be surprised that those products are here anyway? Oh, thanks for translating into Russian. Would you be surprised, James, if you found out that they're selling things here like Campbell's soup is starting to show up on the shelf, or that Hershey's chocolate is the norm here in the Philippines? And you know what's really interesting about that, James, is they're bootlegging the chocolate from Hershey, Pennsylvania in Balikbayan boxes. It's showing up here in the Philippines. Isn't that amazing? the actual chocolate kisses and the like, the whole brand, the whole lineup. People are sending from the United States and they're selling them in cafes and small convenience stores here in the Philippines. Ah, it's wonderful. Now, it's not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. It actually is quite expensive. For example, I would say a bag of Hershey's Kisses, regular creamy chocolate, are gonna probably, not the almonds, of course. For some reason, that combination doesn't excite me. But anyway, they go for about $8, $7 to $8. Yeah. So I was going to do a little bit of a video on that. And other things. I was going to talk about other things that are showing up that are well-known American brands, although I doubt, other than Campbell Soup and maybe a couple other brands, like Hershey's Kisses that I already mentioned, most of the goods are licensed, and they're made outside of the Philippines, and then they're imported here, like from Malaysia. A lot of the chocolate comes from Malaysia. And it's interesting, It's interesting that products are starting to show up here. Vicks Vapor Rub is another thing. Oh, as a matter of fact, in my hand right now, I've got cranberry juice. It's orchard cranberry juice. There you go. You got orchard cranberry juice. But it's very expensive here, James. This, I think, ran just a little bit less than $8 for your standard 1 pint size or so, right? It comes like in that square bottle. It's the Orchard brand. I'm sucking it down. It tastes delicious. So, yes, I've been to Macoba. Anyway, I thought people might be interested in that, but maybe not. I have to think about it. But anyway, I did a video on the wild monkeys and the caves, and it's spectacular, really. It's a must-see when you come to the island of Leyte. I didn't even know it was there, and then we're hanging around and we were just saying, hey, we're bored, let's go take a road trip. So we gathered up some friends and we headed out, and that's where we ended up. Plus they have 4 islands out there close by that you can visit, 4 islas. And those islands are supposed to be spectacular, white sandy beaches. But the complaint that I've seen on Travelocity and other places, and I understand it, is that the passenger boat riders, they charge a lot of money for taking you out to those 4 islands. They call it a day trip, but who knows if it actually is a full day. So you rent the boat. It's very expensive. It's probably, if you want a day out and you want to take one of those boats out there to the 4 islands that are out there, 4 of the 7,000 plus that are located here in the Philippines, it's probably going to cost you some money. Someone said somewhere between $60 and $80 to rent the boat and take 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 of your friends out to those islands. That's quite expensive. They're not that far out there from Inocapan, the city of Inocapan. And it's at that port that you rent the passenger boat to head out to the island. So when we were there, we were kind of headed down to Monkey Island, or Hindag, and so I wasn't too thrilled about the idea of changing plans right there in the middle of the drive. So I decided that, oh no, we could do this another time. We could plan it a little bit better. Maybe I could collect up some money from some other expats and put together a nice ride out. Nice boat adventure, a nice tour that would make a good video, and we could head out to the 4 islands. And then we ran into that artist, the famous artist that's been featured. I know she's been featured on some of the local travel channels here in the Philippines. But her name escapes me, and I apologize. I tried to research her to see what was going on, but she's the one that weaves. They're known for weaving mats on those islands, and so if you go on YouTube, you put in there Cuarto Islas, the 4 islands, and the mat weaving, then you're going to come up with videos that discuss the mat weaving that goes on in that area and how they're trying to keep the old traditions alive. And so you'll see a part in that video where Minnie goes and purchases a hat and a purse from the artist that made them, and I thought it was very nice of Minnie, but she really liked them. I mean, they really look good, they're really well made, and it's quite the ultimate souvenir. And it was not very expensive either. The hat and the purse, I doubt that she paid more than 500 or 600 pesos for. So that's where we're at that way. Oh, I wanted to, I don't know why I want to do this except to make it right, or to let you know how it turned out. But the Shakey's ordeal, I took down a video recently that I did because we went into Shakey's bye-bye. Anyway, the background story is that they didn't honor the coupon. It was actually a 50% off coupon on 1,000 pesos worth of food, which is a hefty discount. We went in there to try and use it in the new Shakey's, and they refused it, but they didn't really explain the reason why. They just said, oh, our store is too new and we can't accept it. And so Minnie and I, we got up and left. So I posted a video, James, and guess what ended up happening? I get a call from Shakey's Pizza Manila. They called me right away. And they said, no, we want to make this right. We apologize. They were very sincere in the apology, both the store manager and the regional manager for Shakey's. And then, as I'm listening to the voice, I recalled that I have met this man before, who's the regional manager of Shakey's Pizza in the Philippines. I met him a few weeks ago when he was there at the pre-grand opening, as they were getting the store ready to roll there in Bye City Leyte. And so he says, hey, but he was the first one to say, hey, haven't we met before? I said, yes, I believe we have. We met before there in the store. He says, I remember you. You had all these great things to say about Shakey's Pizza. And I said, yes, and I want to continue to be able to say great things about Shakey's, but unfortunately, we had this very negative experience there where I felt like, well, it made me feel bad, made me feel very disappointed. But like I said, they called me right away from Manila, and they made the whole thing right. They made the whole thing right so quickly. You know what? That is true about the orchard. I didn't see your comment until now. For some reason, it's not scrolling, or I'm not scrolling it right. Oh, here it is. On my app. No, orchard doesn't come as close to Ocean Spray. That's true. I'll admit that. This is the best we can get, though, James. What are you going to do? At least we have something here, right? Cranberries in the Philippines? What, are you kidding me? What do they have, cranberry bogs hanging around? So the rest of the Shakey's story is that they invited me, Minnie and I, back to the store, and they made everything right. They made it so right. The people acted so quickly over there at Shakey's Pizza to right everything. And then they explained that they were having IT problems, and that the real story behind it wasn't that they didn't want to accept the coupon. It was that they were having IT glitches. But all that stuff is, for me, it's, write down on the piece of paper when everything's running. You plug it in later. I mean, the workarounds here in the Philippines, they're just being developed, Technology is coming here, just taking over. And within the last few years. And employees, they're very afraid to make their own decisions without getting permission. That's something that I notice often happening here in the Philippines. So anyway, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer, right? If this would have happened in the States, what do we do, We're just going to write it down on a piece of paper, write the secret squirrel code down for the promo, give the customer what they came in for. We're not going to send them away disappointed, and then we're gonna bridge it. We're gonna make it good. And they did, they did, but unfortunately, it only caught their attention when I posted a video about the incident, showed everybody what it was all about. And it turns out, or I should say, as it turns out, there was more than just myself, that got caught up in this thing. There were other customers that went away unhappy also. So they have talked to their staff, according to the local manager, Ian. Ian is a very gracious guy, very nice guy. I got that response all up and down the Shakey's chain. And so all is well in the world, they it's a make good, and as far as I'm concerned, it's water under the bridge now. And so what I did was I privatized that video so it wouldn't continue to hit Facebook and other places, because it was going pretty fast. I mean, people were sharing it. They were sharing it out pretty fast. I almost lost control of it, James. I've never had that happen before with a video where it was about ready to launch. I mean, really launch. So, you met a Filipina that was here 15 years ago that worked at a supermarket. She told me cities have bigger selection than the provinces. I don't know. I mean, yes and no, but I mean, we have Costco here in the Philippines. So if you go to Cebu, it's not called Costco, but Kirkland brand are on the shelf. And so they have to be affiliated some kind of way. I don't know what the affiliation is. Maybe they're just buying the goods wholesale from them. Maybe they cut a deal, but they're on the shelves. They're S&R, and you can even buy a hot dog and a big pizza there, like you can at Costco. They're almost identical, for crying out loud. They even have rolls and rolls of toilet paper on the shelf that nobody buys, James. There were a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Let me get through them. Because I always have something to say, don't I, James? I've never been to Shakey's Pizza. There are a few locations in Northern California. Yeah, check this out, James. There are over 300 locations here in the Philippines, and I think only 51 or 52 in the United States. I really don't understand it. I don't understand what happened. But I think they understood where I was coming from. I said, Shakey's, I actually told them the whole story. I went to the Shakey's grand opening in Ayala Mall in Cebu on one of my first trips to the Philippines many, many years ago. And it's sort of a nostalgic thing. So if you were anywhere near California back there in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s, James, there were Shakey's. Shakey's was a treat. It was a big treat. You'd go in there, they'd have the banjo player wearing the straw hat. They had peanut shells on the floor. They'd have great pizza, and it was a party atmosphere. Every weekend, we'd go in there Friday night, get a pitcher of beer. No, I wasn't drinking then. I barely drink now. But the adults would grab their pitchers of beer, and they'd be sitting there. You'd have the piano player, the banjo player, somebody on the snare drums, and you'd have a little 4-person or 3 or 4-person band going all night until closing time. You'd be there eating peanuts, throwing the shells on the floor while eating your pizza and enjoying your life. And so it's a little bit of nostalgia there. And so when I went up, I was amazed, because I got here 20-some years ago, my first visit, 2002 or 2003. I really don't remember the day, but they were having their grand opening at Ayala Mall, or they were doing some such thing. The mall had not been open for very long. I do remember that. And I look up to the second floor as you're walking in the main entrance of Ayala, or the entrance I got dropped off by the taxi driver, and I look up, and there's Shakey's Pizza. Now, at that point, I hadn't been in a Shakey's Pizza in like 20 years. I'm a young man in the Philippines. I did not expect to see Shakey's, right? So I go up there, and it's a bit nostalgic for me because on the wall, it tells the entire story of Shakey's Pizza. And so oftentimes the way these companies start is they locate near a college because college students eat pizza. And that basically was the Shakey's story, located in very close proximity to my alma mater, which is, Sacramento State University. And so then and so it brings back memories, right? And so I couldn't believe it that there was a Shakey's up there. And I went up there and I said, hey, and I talked to Des is here. Hi, Des. Good morning. I talked to the manager of the Shakey's and I said, hey, and I told him the story. I live just a few blocks from that Shakey's, and he goes, really? I go, yeah. And I told him, the story that I just told you. And the next thing I know, he's bringing beer, food, mojos, all the things they serve over to the table. That happened, and then I've been a fan ever since. Always was a fan, but then I became a fan of Shakey's in the Philippines. And so but here in the Philippines, this is a once every 6 month trip because it could be very expensive to go there, but apparently they have enough people that can afford to go there that they established a store here in Bye City, which I'm thrilled about. And so things got off to a rocky start, but they're picking up. In other words, it was packed. It was hard to get in there first 2 or 3 weeks they were open, but now it's starting to settle down a little bit. But still, you have to kind of plan for your trip there because it could be a mite bit expensive. So that's one story. I'm sticking to it. Oh, but I have another food story to share with you. I don't know, James, are you still hanging around? You must be. James, Des, maybe you'll appreciate this. I don't know. So I follow this couple on YouTube, Tom and Lay. That's Tom and Lay. Tom is from Ireland. Lay is from the Philippines. They've been traveling all over the place, right? Tom usually has hung his hat in Bangkok and around Thailand. That's where I started following him 2 or 3 years ago. He was also known as the Roaming Hogan. That's the Roaming Hogan channel. And also, when he was here in the Philippines, he was hooked up with Melgene Salon. I don't know if you know who Melgene is, right? Another very popular YouTuber. So, if you go and you watch their video, I meant to post it on my community page before I went live, because I knew I wanted to talk about this, but I will post it after this live stream is over, which I'm not going to go for very long. I just thought I'd come on here because I couldn't sleep. Insomnia. Des, what are you doing here? Can't you sleep either? I'm wide awake. I don't know what's going on. It's been raining outside. I don't mind telling you it's been a tiny bit noisy, but everything has settled down pretty good. So, but now I'm out here with the crickets and the frogs, and maybe a monitor lizard or two if they show up tonight. Well, anyway, there's a monitor lizard couple that live in the neighborhood. I'm not as sure where they're at today. But anyway, I personally haven't seen them, but Frank and a few other people here, they've seen them. I don't generally lurk outside in the middle of the night. But anyway, I was going to talk to you about Tom and Lay. So right now, they ended up in Thailand, but they weren't supposed to be going there. They were in Malaysia, and then Tom realized that they weren't going to stamp his Irish passport. They were going to let him in the country on his passport, if I got the story straight, but they didn't stamp it. And they have a trip coming up into China that they have a visa for already. And they knew they wouldn't be able to get into China without a stamp on their passport. So I think if it were me, I just would have gone to the embassy there in Malaysia. I would have asked them to stamp my passport. The immigration office sometimes will do that. I would have checked there first. But anyway, I think they panicked a little bit, and he says, well, let's go to our old standby. Let's go into Bangkok, and they'll come through and stamp my passport. And so they ended up there, and they stamped the passport. All was good in the world, right? So now they're all set to go into China. Well, anyway, today's video, that they posted about 6 hours ago, if I'm not mistaken, because it's a new video. They're walking down a part of Sukhumvit Road in Bangkok, and they're going into Lola's restaurant. Well, Lola's restaurant, I did a video on this. Lola's restaurant, they're sitting, as a matter of fact, in the same table that Minnie and I were sitting in there when we were eating there. But I knew from the very beginning, that, Dan, do something about the rooster. Yeah, the rooster is reacting to the light probably here on the porch. Thinks it's the sunrise. Yeah, it doesn't matter, They kept me up, so I'm keeping them up. That's the way we do in the Philippines. So anyway, nobody complains. Nobody even complains when you do it. You could be up doing karaoke all night, I just end up turning on the white noise machine. But anyway, Tom and Lay. So they go into Lola's, which is a Filipino restaurant. But I don't know if they realize it or not, but it's Filipino fusion food. It's that word that everybody uses when they don't want to make it as traditional Filipino food, And they ordered the chicken adobo and something else because they wanted to test out what Filipino food tastes like in Bangkok. And of course, the Filipino embassy is just a few blocks from there on Sukhumvit Road, around the corner. So how it happened was they realized they're in Filipino town, and they end up in Lola's. Now, if you put Lola's restaurant, Lola's Filipino food, Bangkok, Thailand, in your YouTube search engine, you're probably going to come up with 100 videos of people that were trying to get a few extra views because, people would be amazed that there's a Filipino restaurant in Bangkok. But there actually is a Filipino town, and there's probably 4 or 5 Filipino restaurants there. So anyway, as I'm pointing out, if you watch the video, I was chuckling. I like them a lot. I like Tom and Lay a lot. As a matter of fact, we ran into Tom, Minnie and I did, in Soi 4. And he took a selfie with us, Soi 4 in Bangkok. We ran into him. Selfie, please, roaming Hogan. And he was so gracious. He's so approachable. He's one of the nicest guys. I mean, all the YouTuber guys I've met are really nice, except for that one guy in Angeles City that shooed me away. And I can't remember what the name of his channel is, so he shooed me away. He gave me the look like, don't approach me, don't approach me. And I was like, okay. But anyway, it's no big deal. But most are very, very approachable, as is Tom. In fact, he mentioned something on his live stream the other night. He said that he doesn't get excited about, generally people will figure out when they could approach him and when not to, but they're in their 20s. Both Tom and Lai, spelled L-A-Y, if I'm not mistaken, they're in their 20s, right? Him as well as her. I think they're like a perfect match for each other, but they go into Lola's expecting that the Filipino food is going to taste like the Filipino food back home. And I already knew that Lola's was a fusion restaurant. They were offering Filipino fare, but it can't possibly be exactly like the Philippines because they don't have all the products that are available there. And so it's a little Filipino fusion restaurant. And so they came away, it seemed as though they came away disappointed because the food was not exactly what they were used to eating. And I was chuckling about the whole thing. But check this out. There's more, not related to food. So, in one of the prior videos when they're traveling around Bangkok, not on this trip that they're on, where they're staging to go into China, not in this trip, but a prior visit, one of their last visits, their prior visit to Thailand, they ended up in Jom Tien Beach. Now, I was really surprised, because I was thinking to myself, young people don't go to Jomtien Beach. Retired people go to Jomtien Beach. Didn't they notice this? Didn't they notice there were a bunch of old people walking around my age? There are a couple of young people in Jomtien Beach, Pattaya, but not very many. If you want to be with the young folks, the party goers, you have to move further down you have to go down to Pattaya, you have to go to that area, not Jomtien Beach. Jomtien Beach is very tame and quiet, and that's that home of the night market that we did a video on. Yeah, white noise machine, you go to YouTube and you put in white noise, and then all of a sudden the white noise will come up. That's what I should have done tonight, and I didn't think about it. I would probably go back in a few minutes and try it again, try to get some sleep again. But anyway, so I was laughing because I didn't realize that, no, it's not traditional Filipino food, it's Filipino fusion food, right? And so it's not going to have the same, they're going to play around with the family recipes is what they're going to be doing, right? In order to provide, the comfort food that you're looking for. Mostly I find that Filipino food is comforting. A lot of it is comfort food. When you're talking about lechon baboy and things like that, that's comfort food, right? So, as well as pizza, a Shakey's pizza. And so people will buy pizza when they need, to be comforted, in some way. I notice, when they need a little emotional comfort food to help them get through a day. Jackie Lo, what are you doing? Shouldn't you be sleeping? Jackie Lo, you should be sleeping. Des, same thing, same to you. You guys should be asleep. I don't know what people are doing out here at, what is it, 3:30 in the morning? Yeah. Uh-oh, I'm hearing noise. Maybe that's the dog scratching. Not sure what that is. So anyway, can't sleep either, like us. I don't know why. Usually when this happens for me, it usually means something's going to happen, I don't know what, something. Like, we're just human, major earthquake, flood, something. I don't know what, But Minnie's up also. She's also in there watching TV. She has it turned down real low. So Jackie Lo is online. Yeah, she said hi. She said, hey, everybody. So anyway, she's over there trying to sleep. She's in her easy chair. So anyway, so that's what I have to say about Tom and Leia. I was laughing about it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a little bit hilarious that they they went in there without reading the reviews first. Or maybe they did read the reviews. If they would have read the reviews, it'll explain a lot about what the food is. And people will say, well, the time that Minnie and I were there, they had plenty of Filipinos in there enjoying lunch. So I don't know, I don't know. There are Filipinos in Bangkok that like the food there. And I suppose there are going to be Filipinos in Bangkok that don't like the food at Lola's. But I'm not in that category. I enjoyed the food very, very much. I thought it was great. So, but then I'll eat anything, anything that you put in front of me, I will eat and I will enjoy it. So then that was another thing that caught my attention. What are the other thoughts I'd like to share? Oh yeah, so your health. So it's amazing that expats come over here and they don't think about some, not all, some. I'm not even going to say the majority. The majority of them have a plan. And I'm not going to be too critical here, but it's amazing how many expats, older expats, come over here thinking that they're never going to become sick. They're never going to have to go to the doctor or a hospital or get treatment for anything because they're healthy as a horse. And if you watch this guy Steve his channel's changing, but if you look at some of the older videos, He talks about this. Steve at the Philippine Information Channel, he talks about this. And he says you've got to have some kind of a fund that's going to cover you in the event that you need to seek medical attention for yourself, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You know, and it most certainly is. And so I'm amazed at the number of people that I've met who are coming here from the United States and other places that don't have that safety net. They did not save the money for that eventuality. And everybody knows it's going to happen, of course. The older you get, you know, there's an increase in medical visits you're going to be needing to make. They come age and, you know, maintaining your health, they go together with each other. You know, and so I believe that you need to do a lot of preventative stuff, because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's the way that I was raised. But sooner or later, I'm going to find myself, and I already have, quite frankly, in the hospital, visiting the doctor and getting treatment for something. Like when I had to go because I had an ear infection, or the problem with my eyes. And there's other stuff going on. I don't talk all about what's going on health-wise with either myself or Dan and Minnie. But I will tell you this, right? You have to have, you know, a savings account for that. It's important to have one, otherwise, or a credit card or access to money. You have to have some plan put together. It doesn't have to be cash in the bank. You know, it can be a resource, you know, resource that you can access. And that can be a credit card, something, some place to go in the event that you need money because the unexpected came up and you need to check in somewhere, right? So that was one of the other things that's been on my mind, is how amazing it is that people don't plan. But that being said, death can definitely be part of your plan, can definitely be part of your exit strategy. No, I'm not talking about it in that way, that, oh, I don't have any money and so I'm gonna do myself in. No, not anything like that, right? I'm talking about, Mike is here. Hi, Mike. What I'm referring to is that you have had expats over here, 5, 6, 7, a dozen. I mean, that they've fallen out and died, and that had always been their strategy, for their exit strategy for the Philippines. You know, that always had been part of their plan. They knew they didn't have the money to go and seek medical treatment in the hospital, so they pretty much knew that if they ended up there, you know, it was going to be pretty much whatever they call that, where they just, you know, make sure that you're comfortable and where your family stays by you until you leave this planet. I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with that plan. You know, but what I do take exception to is not preparing for the eventuality, in terms of, you know, giving your significant other access to, you know, bank accounts and money and things like that, so they can at least bury you, or they could at least cremate you once you go on your merry way. It's okay if you don't want to seek medical treatment. That would be your own personal choice, right? It's your own personal choice if you don't want to seek medical treatment, and or because you don't want to, or you don't have the money. I've known a few people who have ended up getting serious diseases who just plain decided, hey, it was a good run, I don't want to put my body through it. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the planet the way I got here, the same way. Dan, did you hear the USA is USC, United States of Canada? You're going to be the 11th province. Yeah, change is good, Mike. That's about all I have to say. Most of the time, change can be good. Yeah, I don't think about things so much, politics and things going on in the States, because after all, I spend very, very little time there. So I'm here in the Philippines, and in the Philippines, I make it a point not to get involved in domestic matters or discussions or anything like that. But I kind of sort of did. Man, Minnie and I, we were talking to a very intelligent Filipino guy. I can't remember his name. Very, very nice, him and his wife, that we met in the Dunkin' Donuts yesterday morning. And we were talking about what the subject was, and he brought it up. I did not bring it up. You might think that this is something that I would talk about, but it was him, who was born and raised here in Bye City, Leyte, who was talking about how there's so many expats in here, so many foreigners, and you wouldn't think that Bye City would be the place that most foreigners would want to gather in, because it's a small provincial town, right? A small province. And so, but then again, I started thinking, I was going, well, but it's only a 3-hour ferry ride, fast ferry ride to Cebu. So it kind of does make sense that there would be the overflow from the people that are living in Cebu who decide that, I'm looking for a little bit cheaper place to live, and then they end up across the water here in Bye City. We're not directly across the water. If you look on a map, you look at our location, Bye City, you look at Cebu, you would look at, well, I take it back. If you looked at Ormoc, since we have to take the fast ferry out of Ormoc, and you look at where Cebu is, you're going to be heading south. You're going to be heading a southwesterly direction in order to get there. But Bye, we've been trying to get this fast ferry going, and the guys have told me within the last few days that they're restoring service, or they already have restored service, and we're talking about the Sea Cat, who had a false start a few weeks ago, and they went home with their, limping home, I guess, because they didn't have such a great launch, a great grand opening, I should say, a great maiden voyage, and so they didn't return. And then, of course, they get bombarded on Facebook about what happened to you guys, and then they started up service again. So they had a little bit of a false start. We don't know really if it was regulatory or not. So that was the thing that happened with that. But in the case that fast ferry gets up and running here in Bye, it'll knock off a whole bunch of travel time. The 45 minutes that it takes to get to Ormoc, boom, gone. Right now, you just have to go 10 minutes over here to the pier, and the travel across the water, you cut a half hour off of it, so it's only 2.5-hour ride instead of 3. How long is fast ferry from Dumaguete to your area? I'm not sure, but I think you would go. I'm not sure, because I honestly couldn't tell you. I honestly can't tell you. I've never wanted to do it, but people tell me that in order to get to Dumaguete, you go either south on the island to somewhere like Masan and get a ferry, or you go to Cebu and you grab a ferry out of Cebu to Dumaguete. Yeah, check it out. So 2 ways from what I understand, right? So there was because I saw a ferry in Ilongos. How do you say it? How do you say that? Ilongos? Minnie's laughing at me again. But anyway, because I can't, it's spelled Hilongos. And then I guess you got to do something with the guttural thing in the throat, But anyway, so you either go south, there's a port south that goes to Dumaguete, a port south in Leyte. I don't know which port that is. It could be Masan, or you go to Cebu and you grab the ferry from Cebu, or you drive to Dumaguete. So someone told me that you drive all the way down the island. So it must be what, Lapu-Lapu? You go all the way down Lapu-Lapu, and you take the ferry. You load your car up. You take the ferry across to Negros, and then drive all the way down to Dumaguete, right? Because you're in. Let's see. You have Negros Oriental and you have Negros Occidental, right? Which one's the north? Which one's the south? Dumaguete's in the south, right? And so anyway, I looked it up on a map. It looks like, yeah, that's doable. Are you going somewhere, or you just can't sleep? And a lot of people can't today. And so, maybe we're like waiting for the big one. Maybe an earthquake is about ready to hit. You know how animals, they start going a little bit nuts and get unsettled when something big is about to happen. And I could tell you, other than the roosters crowing, it's pretty quiet out here. I don't hear the usual dogs barking and cajoling and having a good old time. I'm not hearing that tonight. I just hear the roosters. They're crowing because they see the light coming off of people's porches. Or when you go and you flip on the bathroom light, then they start to crow. But, so maybe something is happening. And I'm pretty sensitive. Maybe something globally is happening. I'm pretty sensitive to such things. So, when it's happened in the past, like this, where I have to get up out of bed, then it usually was followed by some event, some celestial event sometimes, like meteor shower, earthquake, sunspot, different things like that. So, Dumageddon faces Cebu. I know ferry goes to Cebu, yeah. And I think the ferry from Dumageddon to Cebu is about what? What is that, an hour and a half? Something like that? I have no plans of I did have plans of going to Dumageddon, but I no longer have plans of going there. It's not a place that I want to get involved with at all. I just don't have any inclination these days whatsoever to want to go down there. Yeah, there's nothing thrilling about going down there and then hanging out with a bunch of Americans. Although I have nothing against hanging out with expats. As you know, I did a short video about that. I said you should be able to hang out with whoever you want. Yeah, I caught that. You're coming down here in March or so. So that's pretty cool. I think we're going to be around. I think we're going to be around here. We're headed. We already have plane tickets going north to Manila. We have some business up there, and then depending on how things go, we're going to visit a few friends up there. We're going to hang around there, and it might be for a week. It might be for 2 weeks. It might be for a month. It might be for 2 months. We really don't know, because I'm going to get online this morning. I said I was going to do it the other day, but I'm going to try it today. And we'll see if we can get those visas going to enter into Cambodia. They usually will give you a 6-month visa. And then you could visit for 30 days. You could use it. It's a one-time entry visa that's good for 6 months. So you can pick your time when you want to go. And then you arrive. And then once you arrive, they stamp your passport with that 30-day visa stamp. And then you go in there and visit Angkor Wat, Siem Reap, wherever you want to go. And then from there, someone told me that you can take a bus to Thailand very inexpensively, but it's a long journey. I don't know. I'm still up to having adventures, Taking a bus is not the most exciting thing in the world, but it could be. It could be if you're going through some of that beautiful country. And so I'm just thinking that, man, maybe we ought to try that, even though I know that it's going to be, but depending on where we want to go in Thailand, it would be between a 4 to 8 hour bus ride or something like that. Yeah, and so you and Gio in the Philippines, yeah, which is strange to me, strange behavior, because because of course there's nothing wrong with hanging out with expats, and of course my best friends are Filipinos, right? So I see no point to avoid expats, because that's where I came from. I came from America. I certainly wouldn't say reject hanging out with Americans, right? I might reject hanging out with Canadians, but truth of the matter is, some of my best friends are Canadian, and so I hang out. With Canadians too here. So I wouldn't give up my Canadian friends for anything, Mike. And of course, I married I married a Filipina, so you know how I feel about Filipinas. So anyway, I hang out with everybody, but I certainly have nothing in my head that says never hang out with expats. That's just silly, right? So anyway, maybe you're just too busy, to hang out with anybody. But anyway, I'm retired, so I hang out with everybody, right? Filipino and expats, and which is a really good thing, right? If Canadians, maybe, but I have never met one yet. Yeah, they're here. They're here, right here in Bye Bye City, and they're, they're really nice people. To my surprise. To my amazement, we've got some nice Canadian people hanging around. So anyway, and we got some nice Americans and nice Norwegians and people from all over the world are here. Nice people from Greece. All are my friends. It's pretty amazing. And have we ever had any conflict over anything? Nope, not that I could recall. Everybody's just enjoying themselves, right? Everybody is pretty much just enjoying themselves, having a good old time. Well, when you have a community, you hang around with people that live in the community. And so when you're here, I imagine if I'm in America, I'm hanging around with Americans. That's part of the community. If I'm in Canada, I probably would be hanging around with Canadians. So I mean, it's a community. It's like no other. I mean, it's like every other community that I've ever been, wherever I lived, anywhere. And so that's all it is. It's just a very, a very diverse community. And so we have a pretty good time, I'd have to say. I wouldn't give it up for anything, that's for sure. Someone said, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that." I just laugh at them. I just laugh at them. I just say, "Oh, you must be." Actually, the people that say that mostly are people that have never been here, right? They said, "You shouldn't be hanging around with expats. Something very, very bad is gonna happen." I just laugh. I don't know where it comes from half the time. It just makes me crack up laughing. I just think that if you don't want to get out and explore, it's all up to you. You make your own decision, and that's the way it is. I like to have a nice broad range of friends, and so I have a broad range of friends, here. That's the way I wanted it to be, right? Let's see. I've met some Americans. I'm not saying anything wrong. Yeah, sure, I understand. I met some Canadians, and I wouldn't go out of my way to go to Canada. How about that? So that's my response. I'd kill myself. I think I could come up with the funniest stuff. I'm laughing. Nah, I wouldn't go out of my way to hang out with anybody in Canada. But here in the Philippines, it's different, because we have something in common already, that is that, we call the Philippines our home, and that's pretty much the difference. But the critics are the ones that don't live here, I notice. That's the whole thing. The critics are the ones that they want to spew the garbage, and then they don't live here. And so that's who I avoid, quite frankly. Or I try to avoid them. Anyway, sometimes you can't, though. I think that's about it. I think I've been going for about an hour, and that's about my limit. And so thanks, everybody, for showing up and spending your time with me. Some here in the Philippines are telling me the same thing. They couldn't sleep. And so maybe something's amiss. Maybe the world is not rotating on its axis like it should be, right? But anyway, we'll call it a live stream, and I'll see everybody later. Bye-bye.